But the white man treats you like this, treats us like this, because he sees us as his property. What name did you go in? Whenever you signed your name to any document, you didn't sign your name because you don't know it. You signed the name of the last slave master of your ancestor. Mr. Wilson, Mr. Jones, Miss Johnson, Miss Brown, Miss White, Miss Culpepper, Miss Whitaker. Oh, yes. Those are not your names. You don't have names that don't have meaning. African people have names that have meaning. And the best names of all are the 99 attributes of God himself. So when Ali accepted the name from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad Ali, that's what launched him throughout the world. Because the most popular name in the world among people of color is Muhammad. Armageddon has already started. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said the battle will be in the sky. It just don't mean airplanes. See, the battle has already begun. The battle is for the mind. Satan battling for your mind. God battling for your mind.
Boom. So, peace and blessings, man. How many of y'all missed that intro? Missed that intro, man. I know y'all missed that intro. I missed putting it in the edit. Our brother Tariq Nasheed was, I don't know if how many of y'all watched his Twitters or listened to his Twitter spaces. He was having, I think it was a Twitter space. He was having a conversation with an African brother, and the question the brother had about African names or cultural names or whatnot. And I understood to a degree what the African brother was trying to say, and I understood what Tariq Nasheed was saying. So I'm not calling nobody right or wrong per se, but when I heard what the African brother was saying, I heard the teachings of, the Nation of Islam, Elijah Muhammad, about, our names and why we got X until we, do the work and get your righteous or holy name. And I was going to try to articulate it, this conversation that they had happened a few days ago. I'm going to put the full video link down in the description so y'all can check it out. But I just got a clip from it. It's just the audio. But like I said, I was going to try to articulate it myself, but I couldn't really get it all together. And then lo and behold, I was listening to the minister, one of his lectures, and boom, he came across a clip. I mean, he spoke about something that I'm actually working on a project doing about this actual topic, which was one of my many reasons of joining the Nation of Islam. I wanted to get rid of a slave name. So check it out.
Unique things that have not been figured out to this day. As far as our food, we have so many amazing customary foods that are unique to foundational Black Americans. Our soul food and Southern cuisines are infamous worldwide. Our music cultures are infamous worldwide and imitated worldwide. So we have our cultures and customs.
Interesting. Let me ask you one more thing, yeah? You see, because I've been following your spaces, see, like, personally, I believe all Black people are not the same. I also hold that particular view. And if you want to find that out, of course, you have to come to Africa. Now, in Africa, for example, if we name, we give people different names. And
right,
with your name, I can point exactly where you come from on the continent. For example, if I come to America and I find someone called Dembele, I can easily trace that Dembele is not a name that comes from southern part of Africa. It comes from West Africa. And I can easily point out that it comes from maybe somewhere around Nigeria, somewhere around Guinea, around that area. Now, when we come to Foundation Black Americans, right, what I especially on the issue of identity, something I'm trying to understand. For example, if I look at the name Tariq Nasheed, okay, and I look at a name or maybe Malcolm, something, the names that, Foundation Black Americans have.
Hmm.
If for example, 100 years down the road, don't you think that your great-grandchildren will try to trace who their great-grandfather was, Tariq Nasheed, and they will be looking in the Arabian Peninsula and not in America?
Got it. They would look here and look, we have names that are very unique to foundational Black Americans. Some of those names, the Shaquitas and Jabrillas and Lavandas, we can kind of tell who's a foundational Black American. We have some of those names that people have dubbed ghetto names, but those names are very unique to foundational Black Americans. So when we see some of those names, I can kind of tell what part of the South they may have came from. They came from the South, or they might have come from the Southeast somewhere. So we have names that are somewhat unique. Now, the issue, you spoke about names in Africa. Now, we're going to have to be very clear, because a lot of you African brothers and sisters, y'all sit up here and talk about your names as if they're some type of ancient names, and they're not. Not only are your names not ancient, sir, y'all didn't even have last names until relatively recently. Y'all didn't get last names until the white colonizers came over there and gave y'all last names. Before the mid 1800s, y'all only had first names. The surnames are very unique to Africa. And the white supremacists came over here giving you these names based on very cosmetic characteristics, based on your looks, based on your height, whatever the Ugandan word for big nose, that would be your name. Or they would name you after your father. So if your father was Umduge, you would be Umduge son, and that would be your last name. So y'all got this whole name thing really tripped up when you just got a lot of those names relatively recently over there. Those are not ancient names by any stretch of the imagination, sir.
Okay,
Right?
can I correct you on that, please? Just
Go ahead and correct me.
Yeah, because when you say Africans, you're mixing up so many different things. Because there's no like one tribe called Africa or one country called Africa. We have so many different tribes, different customs, different names. If you come to the continent, you could trace around 6,000 languages. Okay, so I think when you mention a name, the reason why a name is very important, especially to us Africans. To us, for example, the tribe that I come from in Uganda, it literally points out exactly who your great grandfathers are. And personally, I can trace my great grandfathers to around 1850s, right? And before the white colonialists came, we actually had, the concept of a surname and a first name is something that has just been brought with language in terms of English, Spanish, and all these colonial languages, and French. But when you came to Africa, we had names like, for example, someone would be named according to their tribe. And in a tribe, you had a totem. A totem would be linked to a certain animal. For example, a name like Walusimbi, it's a Ugandan name. If you mention that name, for example, I don't know if I have enough time, but let me explain this to you in relation with my tribe, okay? If I came to America and I found a Ugandan and he told me that his name is Walusimbi, I would exactly know where he comes from, and I trace him exactly to his family, where he comes from in Uganda. For example, how would I do it? So I realized that Walusimbi is a Chiganda name coming from the Baganda tribe, the biggest tribe in Uganda, over 10 million people. So amongst those 10 million people, I can still trace exactly the family he comes from. How? So I go to his tribe, the Baganda, then I go to his clan or the totem called the Fumbe or the civic cat. Then I go into that civic cat, whatever clan, and then he comes from a particular house in that particular clan, and he comes from a particular a particular sort of pillar in that particular clan. So with that, you can easily trace where this person exactly comes from, not just being generic. For example, if you say the name Walusimbi comes from Uganda, and that's all you know, you get it, yeah? So you have to be able to trace it. And for the names, we had, for example, Walusimbi would have another name called Mayanja, okay? And that's why when the colonialists came, they pegged all the first names that were given were to baptize people in terms of, whatever, Christianity or Islam and all this kind of stuff. And that's why you would find so many Africans having a religious name as well as an African name. But things are now
Right.
changing. People are now having both, African names or whatever you would call it. And that's why I was asking
Okay,
you
okay.
about, for example, the name Tariq Nasheed. If I found you in United Arab Emirates, or if I found you maybe in North Africa, I would get confused and I wouldn't be able to trace you to, Foundation Black Americans. The point I'm trying to make is, are you trying, don't you think that it would also be paramount for you to push for Foundation Black Americans to have, Foundation Black American names, such that even if you travel to China, you can easily know that this brother is a Foundation Black American?
Well, we understand our culture, and the names are whatever. We understand what our culture is, no matter what the names are. But the thing is, you're over there where you're from, Uganda, and you guys were colonized by Britain, and you're in Britain now.
Peace, man. Out here taking the puppy out. I actually forgot a part. So, of course, our brother Tariq Nasheed, he doesn't necessarily have a slave name. He really a step ahead of a lot of us, and pretty sure he's aware. But his name has a meaning in English, meaning striking star or something like that. Um, but it has an Islamic meaning too, and it's actually a whole title of a Quran or a chapter of Quran called Al Tariq. I'll put it right here if I mess it up though, but I left that part out. So yeah. So that was them. Like I said, I'm gonna put the link to the whole video down in the description. And this is what what came to my mind, what I heard when they was having this conversation about these names and whatnot, and who can teach us and tell us better than the minister. So check this out.
No. Do you have a hunger and a thirst to know God?
Yes, sir.
A hunger and a thirst for someone to treat you right?
Yes, sir.
So the master was a Christian, while Kunta Kinte, he was a Muslim.
Right.
I went to the village of Jufre,
Yes, sir.
where my brother who wrote Roots, Alex Haley, his ancestors were from. He interviewed Brother Malcolm. He interviewed Elijah Muhammad. And they told him that your original fathers were Muslims. He wrote it down. But when I became the minister, after Malcolm left the nation in New York, Alex Haley wrote me. And he said, Farrakhan, Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm X were right, because I researched my ancestry and my original ancestors were Muslims. So in the new rendition of Roots, I don't know whether you saw it. Did any of you see the new rendition?
Yes, sir.
It starts off, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Right.
God is great. To show you the Muslim way of praying. You may not have recognized it, but they put the truth in it this time. And the reason he took such a beating was because the white man had authority in his own mind to name us. Because you have the right to name what you own. He said, my name is Kunta Kinte. Lash him. Like Ali when he was whooping
Yes, sir.
those that refused to call him by his Muslim name. He said, "What's my name?" And he whooped him some. And after he whooped him some, he asked him again, "What's my name?" And if they didn't say it, he whooped him some more. Well, that's exactly what the white folk did to Kunta Kinte. We were beaten to accept their name of us. Toby don't equal Kunta Kinte. Toby. Now look at the names that you wear. Now wait a minute, Farrakhan, you're getting kind of personal.
Bring it home.
I'm not trying to be upsetting, but the white man treats you like this, treats us like this, because he sees us as his property. What name did you go in? Whenever you signed your name to any document, you didn't sign your name because you don't know it. You signed the name of the last slave master of your ancestor, Mr. Wilson, Mr. Jones, Miss Johnson, Miss Brown, Miss White, Miss Culpeper, Miss Whitaker. Oh, yes. Those are not your names. You don't have names that don't have meaning. African people have names that have meaning. And the best names of all are the 99 attributes of God himself. So when Ali accepted the name from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad Ali, that's what launched him throughout the world.
Right.
Because the most popular name in the world among people of color is Muhammad. But of course, in the Western world, it's John. So Johnny, Sally, those are not your names. That's why you say, I like that Malcolm. Malcolm who? Oh. Who named him X? Elijah Muhammad. His name was Malcolm Little. Little wasn't his name. That was the name of the last slave master that owned his great-grandfather, Little. Don't you think if we're free, shouldn't we be free enough to take a name that connects us to God or to our own African people?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember the comedy, the sitcom, Different Strokes?
Yes, sir.
Who was the two brothers that were stars in that? There you go. Now, I met Todd as a grown man in the home of Jim Brown, the great football player out in California. And Todd told me, listen to the words, that he was going to change his name while he was on that show. He was going to take an African name. He was visited, he said, by the FBI. Wait, did you hear me? I'm going to say it again. He was visited by the FBI, who told him if he did that, the type of punishment would come to him. Because if Todd used his fame to show you the road to freedom starts with your right to name yourself. The road to freedom. When Africa started getting her independence, she wasn't Rhodesia no more. She took a name That was an African name that they had before the white man came.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead. That's right.
Is this the action of a friend? A friendly government? That's your enemy.
That's right.
I ain't been dropping as much as I used to. Still trying to figure out a few things with the channel, man. They've been the subscribers been dropping kind of fast, which I don't understand. The lives of what I was doing with that Week in America. I'm gonna start it back, man. We probably start it back tomorrow.